6 months ago, if I told you that our government was recording every text message, every phone call, every email, every Facebook post, you would have thought I was a nut and laughed me off as a conspiracy theorist. Now we know this is true. Every single bit of data is being stored in Utah. The data collection facility costs $2 billion to construct, uses as much power as a town of 250,000. They say 2.5 billion gallons of water a day just to cool the computers in this facility. And allegedly, it's capable of storing every single piece of data in the world for 100 years. So, our government is using the war on terror as a means to try to get control of us. And wars have been used for hundreds of years as a means to clamp down on societies and get control from medieval times up through the present. So the war on drugs has created incredibly powerful drug cartels. And that's okay. Currently, right now, they say we're spending $41 billion a year directly to fight the war on drugs. Harvard did a study 15 years ago saying that there was $300 billion a year being spent in accessories to the war on drugs. That's building prisons, incarcerating the kids selling the dime bags, etc. These are tax dollars that we are spending to subsidize drug cartels, because we all know the war on drugs is losing. Drugs are more available today than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And these cartels are now some of the most powerful people in the world. The war on guns that is currently being fought by our government basically has turned arms race against the people of the United States versus the government of the U.S. We know that the Department of Homeland Security, which is a domestic police force, policing United States citizens, has already purchased 784 million rounds of ammunition, has ordered 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition. This is enough to put a dozen rounds in every U.S. citizen, every man, woman, and child. They say enough to fight the war in Iraq at the height of combat operations for 25 years extended. U.S. tax dollars are being spent to stockpile this ammunition. They purchased 2,700 Stryker and MRAP vehicles. These are assault vehicles that we have currently deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq that are now being deployed on the streets of our cities, not really to hunt down terrorists, obviously, but for some other purpose. So this is alarming stuff that's going on. The war on terror in particular, the government may now assassinate U.S. citizens without a court order, without a trial. We know this. It's been in the news, and it's been done. 3 U.S. citizens have been assassinated by drone strikes in the past year alone. We're being kind of desensitized by our government as we take baby steps into this sort of totalitarian rule where they do pretty much what they want in the name of security for us and justifying the war on terror. The funny thing is, most U.S. citizens, if they were asked, would be interested in finding out what would it take to end this war. But nobody is really interested in the government putting it into the war, because that would be an end to all of the policing and homeland security provisions that are being quickly put into place. House Resolution 347, recently signed into law, now makes it illegal for U.S. citizens to protest or speak at all in the presence of the Secret Service. Now, this was signed by both the House, the Senate, and the President with unanimous bipartisan support. It seems they can all agree that it is now a felony for U.S. citizens to protest politicians in the presence of the Secret Service. 10 years. You go to prison for that. And this is not just conspiracy theorist stuff. This is the law. House Resolution 347. Look it up. And according to Investors Business Daily, the MRAPs, the Strykers, in addition to 7,000 assault rifles and the billions of rounds of ammunition that are being stockpiled by the Department of Homeland Security, is being stockpiled to police U.S. citizens. According to NBC, there's been a 1,000% increase in the use of Patriot Act provisions in the past year alone. And this particular increase is the Department of Homeland Security going after the business records of U.S. citizens. Of course, all this data is also being farmed and stored out in Utah, we know now. So my point in all of this is that while the average U.S. citizen is much more interested in watching Dancing with the Stars or paying attention to the Trayvon Williams
Normally,
case,
I would say no, that
or
there's no way.
abortion
But in
rights,
this case,
or
I do have a
gay
big
marriage,
that's with me, so
this
she
stuff is
can
all
do
really
it.
smoke and mirrors.
But
It's
normally,
keeping
like,
us
we wouldn't be able to
distracted
do anything
and
like that.
divided
We have 3 other
from what's
patients.
really going on.
But
So
she's down there right
I would
now.
appeal to each and every one of you to begin looking up email addresses of your politicians at a state and federal level.
And she brought
Put these
some
addresses
birth
in your
certificates
computer,
just in case.
save them, and begin challenging politicians every time something like this is done. For instance, House Resolution 347. People should be outraged that our politicians did this to us secretly, close to midnight,
No, I didn't
before they
start it.
recessed
I just
for
gave
2 weeks.
Versed
They did it.
1 milligram IV
And they all seem to agree on that, even though they can agree on very little else. If we don't continue to, or if we do continue to roll over
So that's that. I
and just
will,
roll our
send
eyes
you
at the
a forward.
conspiracy theorists who are saying,
Okay.
wait a minute, the world is changing, our country is changing. Before we know it, we're going to lose the ability to even protest from emails at home. So it's a very big deal. How many minutes are we?
Just made 6 minutes.
6 minutes. So anybody have any questions?
I'm convinced. Let's get political.
I think we really should. It really is a big deal. And I know I go on Facebook all the time ranting and posting these things, and people roll their eyes saying, oh, great. I'm 50 years old. I'll be retiring soon. It really doesn't matter that much to me what happens for the future, but young people like Barb here and Mikey, it is going to matter. So people used to say all the time, it's a free country when I was growing up. We really don't say that anymore. And in truth, it's really not so much a free country anymore.
Are you doing another one of these speeches?
So I appreciate y'all attending my Thomas University Speech 105 persuasive speech, or attempt to persuade. I hope you really are listening. And I hope everybody will start becoming more politically active.
What? It's not a free country. As I was going home for 4th of July, and they were saying celebrate your independence. I thought we're not free.
We're really not anymore.
I'm going to show you.
They're clamping down
I'm
on
going
us.
to show you this. It's going. You're just going to love it.
So we can stop.